This video will talk about Mary Shelley and her most renowned novel, Frankenstein or the Modern Prometheus. While this video will not go in depth, it will try to point out a few important facts about the author and the novel as a brief introduction. This is Kim Soo-young, your presenter. This presentation will first introduce the author and provide a short explanation on Frankenstein the novel. The author of the famous book, Mary Shelley, was born in 1797 as a daughter of Mary Wollstonecraft and William Godwin. Mary Shelley's parents were both great writers and radical thinkers of their time. Her mother, who passed away a few days after the birth, was the writer of A Vindication of Rights of Women. Mary Wollstonecraft was a liberal feminist who argued for education for women, for they are capable of logic and intelligence. It is said that Mary Shelley, as a child, often sought refuge at her mother's grave to read and expand her imagination. Her father, William Godwin, educated Mary Shelley himself, exposing her to great works of literature, taking her to lectures, and letting her listen to his conversations with other literary minds, such as Samuel Taylor Coleridge and Charles Lamb. Her education can be glimpsed from the text of Frankenstein, where the creature learns Paradise Lost, Plutarch's Lives, and sorrows of Werther, as well as ruins of an empire. When Mary was 16, she eloped with Percy Bysshe Shelley, who was a romantic poet. He was a married man at the time, but she ran away with him, just like her mother who built her life partnership with William Godwin out of wedlock. Her life was not stable for a while. She traveled around Europe, including France, England, Italy, and Switzerland. She began writing Frankenstein in June 1816, just as interest in Gothic novels were on the rise, and published her first novel in 1818. It's true that Frankenstein is the most famous work by Mary Shelley. However, it is not the only work by her. She led a successful career as a writer and produced many novels. A few are given as examples here, such as Valperga, The Last Man, Hergen Warbeck, and Faulkner. Frankenstein or the Modern Prometheus is Mary Shelley's first novel. Although its reception was good after the publication, she had trouble publishing her work, and the first edition was distributed without her name in January 1818. This version of the novel had an anonymous preface written by Mary's husband, Percy Shelley. Later, however, she made an addition to the original and republished Frankenstein in 1931, this time with an author's introduction in her name. Although there is no significant change in overall plot, there are a few. For example, Elizabeth and Victor Frankenstein are no longer cousins, and backgrounds of a few characters are expanded, such as that of Elizabeth, Victor's parents, and Robert Walton. Here are some key elements of the novel that will help us understand the structure better. First, it is an epistolatory novel, which means the novel uses documents such as letters to proceed with the plot, often contributing to realism of the story. Frankenstein, the novel, opens with letters Captain Robert Walton writes to his sister in England. Robert Walton meets and listens to Victor Frankenstein, and there is the creature story within Victor's story, creating a frame narrative. A frame narrative refers to a story being within a story. Three people, Walton, Victor, and the creature's first-person narration gives vividness to their stories. Mary Shelley intended her novel to induce thrilling horror from readers and called her novel a ghost story, making Frankenstein a Gothic novel. This novel is also a science fiction because it uses scientific knowledge at the time, although controversial, triggered by Darwin and Luigi Galvani. Galvani's research that dealt with reanimating dead animals with electricity inspired Mary to write a novel about rearranging body parts of dead people and bringing it back to life using science. How should we, as the readers, understand this creature? Here is something that can be a clue to our understanding of this artificial creation. The creature in the novel is also referred to as daemon. What does daemon mean? Here is the definition of daemon from Oxford and Merriam-Webster Dictionary. The first definition is what sounds familiar to us, an evil spirit, and an appropriate description of the daemon if we think of how many people the daemon killed, whether accidentally or intentionally. However, the second definition suggests a different interpretation of daemon that allows us to focus on intelligence, emotions, and urge for companionship of the creature that are also present in the novel. So the second definition reads, an inferior deity or god in ancient Greek mythology, or a supernatural being whose nature is intermediate between that of a god and that of a human being. Whether creature is a demon or daemon is up to reader's interpretation. This novel's original story and Gothic elements sparked imaginations for visual adaptations. Numerous film, stage, and animated productions follow to this day. Here are some examples of how creature is represented by media. Oftentimes, Frankenstein's creation is referred to as a monster, focusing on its hideous appearance, taking advantage of visualization of this new medium. Frankenstein's reputation prevails in Korea too, and it inspired a few stage productions as seen in the slide. The first is a play written by Nick Deer and directed by Jo Kwang-hwa in Korea. The second is a musical produced entirely by Korean artists. This musical was staged from 2014 to 2018, gathering quite an audience. Here is the work cited, and thank you for listening. I hope you get a chance to read this wonderful novel by a female writer, Mary Shelley.